When someone disrespects you, the first thing that comes to mind is to strike back, to defend yourself, to justify your actions. But what if I told you there's a far more powerful and wiser way to respond without shouting, without stooping to their level, and still keeping your peace completely intact? Today, we're going to walk together down a Stoic path to face those who try to diminish you with 7 practical lessons. Get ready to transform the way you react to contempt. Throughout this video, I'll invite you to shift your attitude, elevate your stance, and take emotional control in the face of any provocation. And let me tell you now, the final lesson is the most important of all. It holds the power to change everything, so that you never again allow someone else to determine your worth by the way they treat you. Stay until the end, because each point builds your new emotional armor, an armor that doesn't attack, but also doesn't get wounded so easily. And while you watch this video, start by taking a stand. Leave a comment below with the phrase, "My worth does not depend on anyone's opinion." Write it. In doing so, you're not just participating, you're reinforcing that truth within yourself. Thinking it is one thing, but writing it, declaring it, owning it, that's another story. It becomes a milestone, a public commitment to your own dignity. You deserve respect. More importantly, you must remember that respect begins with yourself. So take a deep breath, focus, and come with me to learn how to disarm those who belittle you without losing your essence, without losing your control, and without wasting your time. Let's begin with the first lesson. First, don't react in the heat of the moment. Respond with awareness. How many times have you said something in anger, only to regret it later? How many times have you let your rage control your words, your face, your gestures? The truth is, in the heat of the moment, we are almost never our best selves. That's why the first Stoic lesson for disarming someone who disrespects you is simple, but powerful. Don't react impulsively. Respond consciously. For the Stoics, true freedom begins when you learn not to be ruled by your impulses. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the best revenge is to be nothing like the person who wronged you. And that difference starts the moment you choose to act not out of instinct, but out of reason. When someone treats you with rudeness or contempt, your natural impulse is to hit back. You want to make it clear that you won't accept that kind of treatment, that you too know how to wound. But doing that means playing their game. It means stepping into an arena where the loudest voice wins. And for a Stoic, that's a defeat. Stoicism teaches us that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your power to choose. That small pause is where consciousness enters. It's the moment you take a deep breath, observe what's happening, and decide, I won't lower myself to that level. That choice is liberating. It lifts you out of reaction mode and puts you in control. You're no longer a puppet of your emotions. You become the captain of your attitude. In practice, this means that when faced with provocation, you don't need to respond instantly. You can pause. You can look the person in the eye and say, let's talk about this later, or simply remain silent, not out of weakness, but out of strength. That silence is not avoidance, it's strategy, it's maturity, and most of all, it's respect for yourself. Responding with awareness is remembering that your value doesn't lie in winning an argument. It lies in preserving your integrity. It's knowing that what someone says about you does not define who you are. What defines you is how you choose to respond. Reacting impulsively is handing your power over to the other person. Responding with intention is reclaiming it. You can't control what others do, but you can always control how you choose to respond. And that right there is the essence of Stoic virtue, acting with intention, not reaction. When you internalize this lesson, you realize that staying calm is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of mastery. Mastery over yourself, over the situation, over your energy. And that is when you become truly unshakable. Second, Don't argue with someone who has already decided not to listen. There are moments when you speak, explain, reason, and nothing changes. The person across from you seems deaf, unwilling to hear, to receive, to consider, and you, in turn, get frustrated. You rack your brain, trying to find the right words, as if those words could unlock doors that have already been closed from the inside. This brings us to the second Stoic lesson. Don't argue with someone who has already decided not to listen. Stoic philosophy warns us about wasting energy. Epictetus said, we shouldn't try to teach those who don't want to learn, and this applies especially to arguments. Often, the problem isn't a lack of solid points. It's the other person's lack of willingness to understand. You can present facts, use logic, stay calm, but if the other person is clinging to their resentment, pride, or bias, it doesn't matter what you say. They've already shut down any possibility of hearing you. Insisting on being heard by someone who has closed themselves off is like shouting into the wind. You only exhaust yourself and get nowhere. The Stoic response is smarter. Recognize the limits of your influence and stop insisting where there's no openness. That's not giving up on yourself. It's protecting your energy, your peace, and your dignity. It's understanding that your worth isn't tied to how convincing you are, but to how well you can maintain your integrity, even when you're not being understood. In practice, that means identifying when a conversation has turned into a wall. It's realizing when the tone has left the realm of respect and entered into a war of egos. And in that moment, having the courage to stop, to step away, to refuse to play the game. Not every battle needs to be fought. Not every silence is a defeat. Sometimes silence is wisdom. You can absolutely walk away and leave someone talking to themselves, not out of contempt, but out of mental clarity. Because if you see there's no real intention to listen, staying there becomes an act of self-betrayal. It's denying yourself the right to be respected. The Stoic knows that some conversations are worth having, and others only serve to drain you. Knowing the difference is a mark of emotional maturity. And more than that, when you refuse to argue with someone who won't listen, you send a silent but powerful message. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't rely on the other person's approval to stay grounded in your values. And often, that silence echoes louder than any words, because the other person expects you to react, to engage in the conflict. But what they find instead is your balance, and that alone is already a response. Third, remember that their disrespect says more about them than about you. Have you ever stopped to think why certain words hurt more than others? Sometimes, a malicious comment from someone can linger in your mind for days, as if it carried real weight. But the truth is, an offense by itself holds no power. What makes it hurt is the meaning you assign to it. Epictetus taught us, what hurts us is not what happens, but our judgment of it. That sentence captures one of Stoicism's most powerful insights. You have the power to decide what affects you. When someone disrespects you, they're revealing far more about their own inner conflicts, frustrations, and limitations than they are about who you truly are. The way someone behaves is a reflection of their inner world, not your value. It's common to take attacks personally. You ask yourself, why is this person treating me like this? What did I do to deserve it? But there's the trap. By doing so, you hand over your self-worth to someone else's behavior. The Stoic refuses to do that. He understands that other people's behavior is their responsibility. If someone treats you with rudeness, impatience, or contempt, that's a portrait of their mind. You don't have to wear their behavior as if it were your own. In practice, applying this lesson means learning to observe from a distance. It's about looking at the offense and asking, what does this say about them? And why should I carry that with me? That kind of reflection gives you freedom. You stop being a sponge for other people's emotions and become a filter. You let through what builds you up, what's useful, what's worthy of your attention. The rest, let the wind take it away. Another key point: when you understand that disrespect is a reflection of the other person, the desire for revenge dissolves. You no longer feel the need to strike back because you no longer feel threatened. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. What protects you is not your response, but your clarity about who you are. And here lies the deepest benefit of this lesson. It frees you from the need for approval. You begin to act based on your own values, without constantly reacting to every criticism or judgment that comes your way. It's like building an invisible armor made of discernment. The words still come. The looks, the attitudes, they arrive too, but you remain grounded. Remember, the way someone treats you is a mirror of the world they carry inside. The way you react is a reflection of yours, and that is where Stoicism reveals its power, not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. Fourth, set firm boundaries without aggression. Being a calm person doesn't mean putting up with everything. Having self-control is not the same as staying silent, and keeping the peace doesn't mean tolerating the intolerable. The fourth Stoic lesson invites us to find an essential balance. Set boundaries with firmness, but without aggression, because those who don't learn to clearly define their place in the world often end up swallowed by the excesses of others. In Stoic philosophy, respect is not demanded by shouting. It is built through coherent action. Epictetus taught that we must act in accordance with our rational nature, avoiding emotional extremes. This means you can and should set boundaries when someone crosses the line. But you don't need to do it with anger, hatred, or raised voices. You can do it with presence, with a firm voice and calm gaze, with the confidence of someone who knows they should never submit to anyone's disrespect. In practice, setting boundaries means calmly saying, "I don't accept being treated this way," and standing by that statement. It's about making it clear where your space ends and someone else's begins. It's cutting off conversations that have lost all respect. It's not allowing constant interruptions, emotional manipulation, or invasions of your personal space. You don't need long explanations. You just need consistency and, above all, conviction. The Stoic understands that it's not aggressive to defend yourself in a rational and firm way. On the contrary, it's a sign of maturity. Because when you stay silent in the face of injustice out of fear of seeming rude, you are abandoning yourself. And Stoicism is a philosophy of presence, of integrity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must act according to what is just, not according to others' approval, and that requires courage. Courage to make others uncomfortable, courage to stand your ground, courage to be yourself, even if others don't like it. And here's the key. Setting boundaries isn't about changing someone else's behavior. It's about changing your attitude toward them. It's deciding that you will no longer allow yourself to be treated in ways that violate your principles. And when you stand firm and respectful, the other person often backs down, not out of fear, but because they realize they're facing someone who truly respects themselves. If saying no is hard for you, start with small steps. Decline invitations that drain you. Say no to tasks that overwhelm you. Cut off conversations that hurt you. Each of these actions strengthens your emotional muscles, and the stronger you are on the inside, the less tolerant you'll be of anything that tries to diminish you. Fifth, don't beg for consideration. Cultivate self-respect. Few things are as draining as trying to earn the respect of someone who has already decided not to give it to you. Insisting on being seen, heard, or valued by someone who offers no reciprocity creates a silent cycle of suffering. You adapt, you silence yourself, you give, all in the hope of receiving crumbs of consideration. But Stoic philosophy teaches us that everything outside of our control should be approached with rational indifference, and one of those things is how others perceive us. Epictetus said, "We should not place our tranquility in the hands of others' judgments, because doing so turns us into slaves of external approval. When you need someone's validation to feel whole, you surrender your emotional autonomy, and few things weaken you more than relying on someone else's gaze to recognize your own worth." Having self-respect means understanding that you don't need to be accepted to be worthy. It means acting in alignment with your principles, even when no one acknowledges it. It means knowing that someone else's silence doesn't mute your voice, that another person's coldness doesn't freeze your essence. The Stoic focuses far more on being coherent with his values than on being admired. And that attitude, paradoxically, is what earns the most genuine respect. A respect not asked for with loud voices or begging, but one that flows naturally from the strength of who you are. In practical terms, this means stop chasing after those who ignore you. It's not about pride, it's about dignity. If someone doesn't respond to your message, you don't send another demanding attention. If someone treats you with indifference, you don't insist on being present, you simply withdraw. And that withdrawal is not escape, it's affirmation. It's a silent way of saying, "I am enough." This also applies to environments where you constantly feel like you have to prove your worth. If you're in a relationship, a job, or a social circle where you're always justifying your value, maybe the problem isn't you, maybe it's the environment. And Stoicism invites you to reflect. Am I living in line with my rational and virtuous nature? Or am I exhausting myself trying to fit into spaces that shrink me? Cultivating self-respect is a daily practice. It begins with small decisions, rejecting what devalues you, walking away from those who drain you, and, most importantly, stopping the habit of offering yourself emotionally to those who do not take care of you. The more you respect yourself, the less you'll tolerate being disrespected. And over time, you'll come to realize that the space left behind by someone who didn't value you is not an emptiness, but a sacred place, ready to be filled by what truly deserves to be there. Sixth, surround yourself with those who strengthen you, not those who weaken you. Human relationships have a profound impact on who we become. The people around us don't just influence us, they silently shape our thoughts, our behavior, even how we see ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must stay close to those who help us become better and avoid, whenever possible, those who corrupt our soul. This doesn't mean cutting out everyone who disagrees with you, nor does it mean living in a selective bubble. It simply means taking responsibility for protecting your emotional and mental space by being more mindful of whom you share your energy with, your ideas, and above all, your vulnerability. Negative people, those who are constantly critical, always judging, complaining, belittling, or silently competing, slowly erode your confidence. They're like a headwind. They don't knock you down at once, but they gradually steer you off course until you forget who you were. And the Stoic knows, watching over your mind also means paying attention to the company you keep. In practice, this requires an honest self-evaluation. Who are the people that inspire you to be stronger, calmer, wiser? And who are those who, after speaking with them, leave you feeling confused, drained, or with your self-esteem in pieces? That difference becomes crystal clear when you begin to observe. And the next step is to have the courage to reposition yourself. Sometimes that means setting boundaries with longtime friends, limiting contact with toxic relatives, or even cutting ties that have long since lost their balance. It's not coldness, it's maturity. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, those who share constructive ideas, who know how to listen, and who also know how to correct with respect. People like that aren't just good company, they're pillars of growth. Stoicism values these kinds of relationships, bonds built on virtue, reason, and mutual respect. And yes, they are rare, but they exist. You just have to be willing to become one of those people too, someone who strengthens others, who offers what they hope to receive. And don't forget, choosing who surrounds you is often choosing who you are becoming. If you want to cultivate courage, wisdom, serenity, surround yourself with those walking that same path. You don't need to accept every presence in your life out of fear of being alone. There is a kind of solitude that strengthens you far more than a company that poisons you. Seventh and final, become unshakable. Strengthen your inner world. Now, we've reached the final and most important lesson. Become unshakable. Strengthen your inner world. This doesn't mean becoming cold, indifferent, or disconnected from your emotions. It actually means cultivating a quiet strength that keeps you centered, even when everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. For the Stoics, real power isn't found in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote that peace isn't found in external events, but in the ability to keep your soul calm in the midst of chaos. He understood that the world is unstable, that people will disappoint you, that situations will spiral beyond your control. But he also knew that there is a place no one can reach, a well-trained mind, a peaceful conscience, a heart that knows itself. That is your true refuge, and it must be built with discipline. Being unshakable doesn't mean not feeling pain or frustration. It means not being destroyed by them. It means hearing an insult and understanding that it doesn't define you. Seeing a mistake and not drowning in guilt, but diving into learning. Understanding that what someone tries to take from you, your respect, your dignity, your worth, only leaves if you give it away. And the Stoic doesn't give it away. He observes, he breathes, he chooses, always chooses. Strengthening your inner world is investing in what no one sees, your values, your principles, your ability to pause and reflect before acting. It's having moments of silence to listen to yourself. It's reading, not just to know more, but to understand better. It's nurturing friendships that feed your soul, not just distract you. It's caring for your mind as if it were a temple, clean, protected, sacred. In practice, it begins with small routines. Ask yourself each day, what can I do today to become stronger on the inside? Maybe it's reading something that teaches you, having a conversation that uplifts you, saying a liberating no. Maybe it's as simple as, in the face of a problem, choosing not to complain, but to take a deep breath and act with focus. With every one of these choices, you'll notice you don't fall apart as easily. The attacks decrease, not because they stop coming, but because you no longer react the way you used to. And even when they return, you don't crumble, because they will come back, but now you'll be prepared. This lesson is the foundation of all the others, because in the end, the only real defense against disrespect, instability, and negativity is a well-built soul. When you become unshakable, not out of coldness but out of clarity, not only does your reaction to the world change, but the kind of world you begin to build around you changes as well. If you've made it this far, I want to sincerely congratulate you. That means you're not just watching another video. You're seeking wisdom, growth, and the tools to become a stronger, more conscious, and more serene person. And just that step alone already puts you ahead of most. Now tell me in the comments, which of these lessons resonated with you the most? Which one do you feel you need to apply most urgently in your life? And if you don't know what to say just yet, simply write, "Thank you." That way, I'll know you stayed with me until the end, and that this message meant something to you. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, now's the perfect time to do it and activate the notification bell. Every day we share deep reflections based on Stoic wisdom to help you live with more clarity, balance, and purpose. At the end of this video, I'm leaving you 2 more pieces of content with teachings that can continue strengthening you. I invite you to watch them and keep walking this path of inner transformation. Your evolution has already begun.